All right, welcome back, everybody. G Funky Boxing. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. Being joined by a very special guest tonight, one of my favorite guys to talk boxing with in the YTBC. I had to bring him back, had to get the defibrillator, rub it together, clear, My man 97 Rough from Leave It in the Ring. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, brother? Been a long time. It's been a minute. I mean, we talk like every other day or so, but to be on camera on your show, it's been a minute.
Yeah, man. It's good to have you back. Always pumped up to have a good boxing conversation with you. We got Emily in the chat. How's it going, Emily? Thanks for tuning in. Big fight this weekend, man. I cannot believe Dave, that this fight is here, man. This is unbelievable.
It's finally here, and it's been a long time coming. A grudge match, a real grudge match, not some fabricated bullshit. These are two guys that really don't like each other, man. And it dates back some time, and Caleb said that Benavidez and them had said some things about his daughter, Caleb's daughter. I've had Senior and Jose Senior, Jose Jr., and David on Leaving the Ring numerous times, and they were like, "Hey, we never said that," and it just rolled over to a much deeper cut in the wound between the two camps, and now they finally are going to settle it in the ring.
Yeah, man. It's cool. Like I said, man, for so long. And again, you got those great interviews, those great sound bites from both of these gentlemen in the main event tomorrow. Bad blood, heat, whatever you want to call it. It is there, man. It is there. And I am pumped to talk about this fight and break it down. And again, I cannot believe it's here, man. After all this talk, that was what? How long ago was that? 2020, 2019, something like that, when you got those interviews, and now we're here, 2023.
Yeah, 2020, 2021. And man, believe it or not, I just didn't think it was going to happen. I really didn't think Caleb wanted that fight. He was chasing the bigger money, but I see that he now gets that Benavidez is a star. Everybody's been talking about David Benavidez. He's a force to be reckoned with. So really, his back was kind of, against the wall, that he had to finally say, okay, let me fight him. Let's get this done over with.
Yep. And let's say what's up to everybody in the chat real quickly, and then we're going to get into this. Andres, all the way from Portugal, man. Thanks for joining in. My man Chauncey Pearls as well says, what a fight and a great fight card. Indeed, it is, man. Round one of my great subscribers. Thanks for being here. And, of course, the great Emily with the fire emojis. See, what makes this fight so good is that there are so many people unsure.
I'll be right back, man. I apologize. I'll be right back.
Sure. No problem. What is so good about this fight is that there is so many people unsure of the outcome. There is a healthy split between who wins this fight, 50-50. I would agree with you, Chauncey. I would agree with you 100%, man. There's, again, a good styles clash from these two. So a few ways that this fight could end, with the style matchup. So just fantastic, man. We got to give PBC some credit, man. I've given them a hard time in the past. I know a lot of you have as well, but you know what? They finally got this thing done. Yeah, it's on pay-per-view, but hey, what can we do at this point, man? We're getting it, and it's a fight that we need to see, and it's going to happen. So let's give them a hand, man. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. But you know what? Let me tell you this. I've seen some really hardcore fans complain about the pay-per-view, but I got to tell you this. I don't have an issue with this being on pay-per-view, and I'll give you a reason why. The grudge between the two is enough for me to want to pay to see them go at it finally. Versus a lot of other fights that PBC have hosted under pay-per-view numbers, for us to pay for, that weren't, in my opinion, worthy of that. Benavidez and Plant, in my opinion, still both in their prime. Benavidez definitely needs to answer some questions. And Caleb Plant, how good is Caleb Plant? You went in with one of the best fighters right now in this generation in Canelo. But really, leading up to that fight, we knew nothing about Caleb, of how he was going to do under pressure. Was he going to be able to maintain his boxing skills against a higher, more elite guy? Now, the tables have turned, because now you got a 50-50 split between the community in boxing and even in casual fans that are now asking about Benavidez. Can he replica what Canelo has done? Because the more seasoned guy is Caleb Plant, which David Benavidez and his team have acknowledged that. David Benavidez said, hey, yeah, my resume is weak. This is my step up. So I don't have an issue paying pay-per-view for it because of those little facts about this fight. The grudge and both guys in prime, and both guys still got a lot of questions to answer.
Very well said. And I agree 100%, man. And, David was very honest about his work that he's done so far in his career. He said, yeah, my resume is a little on the weak side, and this is a fight that I need.
Right.
This is definitely a fight that I need now. And like you said, I agreed 100%. Going into the Canelo fight for Plant, I said, look, Plant is untested. This is a huge step up for him fighting Canelo. Like you said, one of the best fighters in boxing right now. So, he came up short in that fight. Did have some moments, though. I don't feel it was as close as some people thought. But
Right.
Plant did show some good skills, got a nice lead hand, good jab, and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, Canelo was able to apply that pressure, cut the ring, break him down, and get him out of there in 11 rounds. And this fight here, man, I can't wait to talk about it, man. But we got a lot of other fights that we're going to touch briefly on, and then we're going to break down the big one. But guys, if you guys want to call in, all of you watching live right now, the number is at the bottom of the screen. Give us a call anytime you want. Fotex is here now. D-Lo, I love D-Lo, man. One of the best channels out here. Very unbiased, very knowledgeable. And my man Renee Box Young as well. Appreciate all you guys. Don't forget to hit the like button. So, real quickly, Dave, we got another fight happening tomorrow night on ESPN in our neck of the woods, Central California, Fresno, California, to be exact. Save Mart Arena, Jose Ramirez versus Richard Comey. Real quickly, what are your thoughts on that, and who you think wins?
You know what? I've seen a lot of folks on social media shitting on the fight. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't think it's a bad fight. Because to say that Ramirez is going to do what Lomachenko did to Comey, I think that's a bit of a stretch. Ramirez doesn't fight like Lomachenko, even though it's an older Lomachenko. Ramirez doesn't have those type of he doesn't hone those skills, right? I think it's a good run for him. It's not the fight that everybody wanted, which was the Progress fight, but I think it's a good stay busy fight for himself. Comey's a little long in the tooth, but I still expect him to try to throw that right hand and land a few shots. But is it going to land? Is the fight going to go the stretch? I don't think so. I think Ramirez is going to outwork him, out hustle him, push him back. And I kind of see no mercy from the ref this time. Whereas with Lomachenko keep looking at the ref like, hey, come on. I think that Ramirez is going to convince the ref to stop this fight because Comey's just a tough kid. He's too tough for his own good. So I see a late stoppage for Ramirez.
All right, and we got our first caller of the night. Emily's calling in. How you doing, Emily? Thanks for calling us.
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, we're great. We're pumped up. We're pumped up for tomorrow.
Hello, Emily. Long time no hear.
Hello, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. It's good to hear from you.
Nice to be here. I just want to thank you guys. And I had a question. I wanted to know from your perspective how this fight, from the media's perspective, how the buzz for this fight compares to others, because I'm really close to it, but I feel like, there was a line a mile long outside the Cobb Theater today for, before the weigh-in and everything. So it just feels, again, I'm super close to it, so it's really hard to judge, but it feels like it's getting a ton of buzz in the boxing community.
Yeah, I agree with you. I seen the weigh-in today, and I did see a short video that I believe the PBC Instagram page put up with El Rayo and Colbert. And we got a really good shot of the crowd that was there. Place looked packed, a lot of fans. I think there's some good buzz for this fight. I really do. And, I can't wait for it. It seems like a lot of fans are in the same boat as me. What do you think, Dave?
I have to agree, man. I mean, look, I'm still a blue-collar guy. I still go out. I work every day. I try to run a business. And a lot of the people that I interact, they're not big fight fans. But this is when you know that this caught a lot of attention. You got guys that don't normally watch boxing, that normally will watch you got the March Madness games on right now. You got, USA versus Japan baseball games, stuff like that. But you had guys going, "Hey, Dave, what do you think about this Benavidez and that kid from wherever, that Tennessee kid?" And I'm all, "It's going to be a great fight. You better tune in and stuff." And here's another thing. I've always complained that pay-per-view for me nowadays is not the pay-per-view of the 90s where families don't get together. We're not barbecuing. Nobody's getting ready for a fight. I got to tell you, I'm having a fight party tomorrow. And a lot of the folks that are coming over tomorrow are not fight fans, and they're coming to see this main event.
Yep, I agree with you. I'm having some people come over as well. And it's a great fight, a grudge match. I love these kind of fights. It's a throwback to the 90s for me, man, when we see guys didn't like each other. So I think we're going to see some fireworks. But yeah, Emily, it's a great crowd there that I seen today as well.
Yep. I got a quick question for Emily really quick, if she don't mind answering for me.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so I haven't been too much into the media. I haven't done, covered a lot of fights lately at all. I mean, I've been out of the game for about good 2-3 years, I would have to say. But I did read up on something, and I was wondering, the testing for this fight, Emily, how strict has it been? Because I saw and read that Memo Heredia has been working with David.
Yeah, it's VADA testing. He's enrolled in VADA, and it's VADA testing. In fact, we had an interview. We were in the middle of an interview or getting ready to do an interview, leading up to it, and VADA knocked on the door. So it's going through testing.
Okay, and
nice.
how long has he been with Memo Heredia?
If I answer that, I'd be guessing. Just because I don't know exactly when he joined the team. I'm sorry. I should know that, and I don't.
Okay, because this is the first camp they've worked together, right?
Yeah, I think that was the first time.
Okay. All right, I won't drag you too deep into it, But,
sorry,
no worries.
But Emily, I want to ask you this too. There's been a lot of fans that I've seen as soon as the weigh-in was over on social media. Some people seem a little concerned of Benavidez coming in at 166 pounds. Now, I would say, well, that's exactly what he weighed against David Lemieux in his last fight, and he looked fine as ever, And
it was 166.75, so it's a pound and a quarter. I mean, he's been, basically on weight all week. He's been ready, and he expects to rehydrate appropriately tomorrow. So I don't think there should be any concern. He's just healthy. He's working.
Yeah, he looks fantastic, and
he looks focused.
A lot of things I've been hearing and
he
seeing.
Wasn't cranky. He wasn't cranky. Like a lot of fighters get cranky during fight week. He wasn't cranky. He wasn't particularly he wasn't complaining. Nothing. He was just his normal, pleasurable self. Or he's a pleasure to work with. So he's his normal self.
Yeah, and another thing I want to ask you about is El Rayo is going up against Chris Colbert. That is a fantastic matchup. Both guys looking
great fight.
Yeah, both guys looking to rebound. How does El Rayo how are his spirits going into the fight tomorrow?
Yeah, he's ready. He's really ready. He loves the lights. He loves the show. So he's really ready to go in there and win tomorrow. He really, I think the loss that he had was really, did the right. He's having the right appropriate bounce back from that, I think, and I think this is gonna really show what he's done in the past several weeks getting ready for this fight. I think he's gonna put on a really good show tomorrow.
Yeah, there's just probably the same amount of people are pumped for that fight as they are the main event, and because that's just a fantastic matchup, and it's the second fight on the card, so it's like, man, I am so ready for this fight tomorrow. This is just a great card, and I know that there's some competition there in the town. I believe that there's the March Madness that's going to be there, but I think it looks like it's going to be a nice, healthy crowd. I mean, like we saw today, look packed for the weigh-in, and that usually is a good sign for the fight,
Oh yeah.
I think it's sold out. If it's not sold out, it's going to sell out. Yeah.
Yep, looks great.
I think Tony Montana Scarface is supposed to be there looking for you too, Emily. That was
Oh
supposed
boy.
to be that was supposed to be the
Oh,
co-main
goodness.
event. I heard that you and Tony were going to get in the ring.
Me and Scarface.
Yeah, yeah.
Terrible
He
movie.
told me he was going to
that negative energy on here.
he told me he wanted to smack you with one of his kilos and stuff because you gave him bad reviews of his movie. But I told him step back. Emily's my homegirl.
Just a terrible movie. That's funny.
Oh,
He
that's
got me.
great. Well, Emily, we know that you're there and you're doing a lot of great work with El Bandera Roja Benavidez. Give us some last words here before we let you go, and thanks for calling in.
Yeah, no, we're just all so grateful that everybody's like so jazzed about the fight. I mean, this is what we've all been waiting for. So, 24 hours from now, it's going to be done. Actually, probably like almost 24 hours from now. So, we're just really grateful for the fans and everybody that's been following along all these years. And this is, the culmination of a lot of hard work, and we're excited for the show.
Absolutely. And man, you just got me even more pumped up with that, Emily. You're right. In 24 hours, that bell's probably going to be ringing right about now at around the 8 p.m. time. So, one more sleep and we're there.
Let's go. Let's go.
Emily, thank you so much for your time.
I'm going to hang up, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate the call. All right.
That's the PR, Emily, for David Benavidez. Been with them from the very beginning. And the whole Scarface thing was because, me and Emily have known each other for years. And we did a show together. And I actually prank called her playing Scarface, pretending I was Scarface. It was calling from heaven because she said, I can't stand him. I think that movie's terrible. So I gave her a hard time about it, man.
Oh, should have done the Scarface impression. Well, if I'm not back in 15 minutes, something's wrong.
Hey, okay? Fly away, Pelican! Fly away!
I love it. So, you know what? Great breakdown on the Ramirez Comey. I think it's a good matchup, man. I know a lot of people are not excited about it because they wanted to see the Regis fight. Now, look, that's a totally different topic, right? But the thing is this. Matchups, style-wise, this is going to be a good fight, man. I think Ramirez is going to get it as well, but it's going to be good, man. These two guys like to come forward, throw punches. They're not shy. They're going to get in there, and it's going to be a good fight, man. Going to be a really good fight. But I do think Ramirez is the naturally bigger man.
Not as good as the Caleb. I mean, not as good as the Caleb Plant and David Benavidez fight. But it's going to be. It's going to be a fight. If you're not paying for the pay-per-view and your stream goes down because you decided to use a Fire Stick or any other method to watch the fight, hey, you can always log off of that and you just tune into ESPN Plus.
Yep, that's true, man. Very true. So let's get to the PBC card now. First fight of the night, Cody Crawley versus Jesus Ramos. I think this is a fantastic matchup as well, man. What are your quick thoughts on that, Dave?
I'll let you go first. Let me tee off of what you're going to say.
I think it's a good fight. Two guys with some, they showed some decent power. Crawley's a guy that likes to, apply pressure, throw a lot of volume. He's got some things on his mind. He looked a little emotional today. Sounds like he might have lost somebody in his life just recently. So that could affect you a few ways. It all depends on how you take those emotions and use them, and that's really for Crawley to decide on his own. He's going to have to decide how to use that. And but again, Jesus Ramos is a good fighter. His last fight, he was in there with Luke Santamaria. Right. And he's a tricky fighter, very unorthodox, can switch hit, moves around the ring. So he was in that fight. It was a competitive fight. But I do think I'm going to have to go with Crawley on this one. But it's going to be a very, very close and competitive fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think Ramos is going to be game, but I think you pointed all the facts out there. It's kind of hard to debate that, so I'm going to go with you as well.
Yeah, man, it's going to be a good fight. So many good fights this weekend. It's not fair. I'm excited for all the fights, but I'll be tuning in to Benavidez and Plant. Yeah, I mean, I think most people will be, and rightfully so. But there is going to be a sellout crowd, 14,000, 15,000 there in Fresno. So, hey, hats off to them, man. That's fantastic that they can do that on a big fight weekend with a paper going up against a pay-per-view. So, Getting
How
back to
many
the
of you think are
pay-per-view.
going to be streaming while they're at the arena on their phone and iPad during the ESPN broadcasting? It's gonna be a
Right. They
lot.
better have some strong Wi-Fi in that arena. It might go down.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
I agree with you on that. But let's get back to the undercard. Again, these are real quick predictions that we're going to do, and then we're going to break down the big one. But El Rayo versus Chris Colbert, two guys coming off a loss. Colbert moving up in weight. What do you think, Dave?
Look, Colbert, I still think that you know, I like the kid. I think he boxes. He's got a good IQ in there. But to me, it goes off of a guy moving up in weight. Needs that confident build. I personally probably would have liked to see him get a setup fight before he moved. You know, when he decided to visit up weight. But it comes down to who wants it more, and I gotta lean with the guy that's been a resident at the weight they're fighting right now. So, unfortunately, with Colbert, I like him. I just don't see him pulling it off. But I do see a very competitive, close fight.
Yeah, you know, these guys have different styles, but they're not too drastically different, you know. Both guys like to swing away, both guys can punch a little bit, and both
Yeah.
guys have some issues defensively, you know.
Well, if
So
Colbert didn't have the power at his weight at the time, I don't see him like having any power, honestly, to keep the other kid honest. So that kind of leaves me, you know, how is he going to react to the bigger man's punch? And
yeah,
you know, how is he going to fit well? You know, his walk around weight might be that around that weight, but to me, it's you're not sparring big guys and fighting the bigger guy. There's no comparison. You know.
yeah, the size is one of the major things that has me leaning towards El Rayo to win this fight.
Right.
He definitely looks bigger when they faced off today. And again, Colbert obviously moving up from super featherweight to lightweight. And we know Rayo can punch, but again, both guys have, again, like I said, the defensive issues. So it's going to be
Right.
exciting, man. But I
Yeah.
have to lean towards El Rayo in this one. But man, anything could happen. Anything could happen in that fight. And that's what makes it so fantastic, you know. But I am going to slightly favor El Rayo to win that fight. So now we're on to the co-main event, which I think, again, another great matchup. Two young
Another great
guys, and
matchup,
actually a couple of prospects that PBC has built, which is something that they're not really known for. But
Mhm.
Jesus Manuel Ramos versus Joey Spencer at super welterweight. Fantastic matchup, man. What do you think, Dave?
I'm going to go with the upset here. I know they got Joe Spencer as the kid that's, you know, the next thing, but I like Ramos in this fight big time. You know, I think he's going to pull it off.
I agree with you. I think he's one of the best kept secrets at the super
Mhm.
welterweight division right now. Not a lot of people talking about him. Tough kid, good fundamental skills, and he's got power. He's a southpaw. And Joey Spencer, you know, again, he's a guy that they've been big on as well, like you said. But I'm going to go with Jesus Ramos in that one. But it's going to be a good fight too. All these fights are very competitive.
Yeah, very, very competitive, you know, but the thing with Spence for me, what I worry about the kid, he has a lot of tellings when he throws a punch.
Mhm.
He's very predictable. So I think Ramos is going to catch that right away and he's going to put it on. And, you know, but again, anything can happen. A one punch can change, you know, everything, you know. But I just don't see Joe's experience is going to be enough to keep Ramos off of him.
Good point. Good point, man. And guys, Emily got me even more pumped than when she said 24 hours that bell's gonna ring. She's right, man. Around
Yep.
this time, we're gonna be watching the fight tomorrow night, man. This is oh man, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And now we are here. We're finally gonna break this thing down, man. David El Bandera Roja Benavidez versus Caleb Sweet Hands Plant, super middleweight fight. The winner should get a crack at the king of the division, Canelo Alvarez, hopefully in the fall of this year. Dave, the floor is yours, my man. Break it down. Let me know how you see it. Let's get it, baby.
Man, oh man. How many times have I played this fight in my head and how it's going to go and it's how it's going to work, you know? I've always liked David Benavidez. I thought his style is a fan-friendly style. You know, and I remember, I think I've talked to you about it. I've talked to numerous people. I said, I don't want to see David Benavidez against Canelo just yet because I wanted some answers to be answered by David Benavidez. Getting this Caleb Plant, and if he does it in this fantastic KO fashion or even just a straight beatdown, it's going to just up his stock and make his claim of why he should get Canelo next, okay? You know, I had David Benavidez and his dad on one time, and I love what they said to me when I brought up Canelo Alvarez one time. And they said, listen, we're realistics, okay? We understand the fight game. We're not gonna, you know, revolve around Canelo's career. We need to make a name for ourselves, and we need to chase down these certain fights, which was very difficult for these guys to get very competitive fights at the 168. I mean, the kid has now been nicknamed the Monster, and there's an obvious reason for it, okay? But as an animal that David Benavidez is, I've always said you can tame an animal. Can Caleb Plant do that? Does he have enough tools in the box to be the zookeeper? I don't know, because there's some things that I got to point out he would need to do against the big David Benavidez. One, he's got to establish a jab right away. That's the one thing he's got to do. Because if you watch David Benavidez and you watch him against a slow foot guy or a guy that wants to be in front of him, David doesn't shuffle his feet towards you. He walks towards you. And that's one thing that I don't want to see David Benavidez do in this fight. He cannot take that time of giving Plant to move away from his arm reach. He's got to make sure he's always taking a half step. You know, I'm sorry, not a half step, a full step when Caleb Plant takes a half step, okay? And I hope they worked on that, because leg conditioning to me is going to be a big plus, because Caleb Plant is not David Lemieux. He's not all these other guys that Benavidez has faced. Caleb Plant likes to move. Caleb Plant likes to use all the real estate around him. Now, if he can establish a jab and keep David Benavidez at the end of those punches and keep David Benavidez slow and not thinking, he could really put in some rounds in the bank there for himself. Okay, but that's not the only thing he's gonna have to do. He's gonna have to dig into the inner Andre Ward of himself, okay? And what Andre Ward did fantastic in the rematch against Jesus Christ, what's his name? Help me out here. What's his name? When he
Kovalev?
fought him in the rematch. Kovalev, okay? How could I have forgotten Kovalev's name? Jeez. What he did with Kovalev was he jabbed to the solar plex. And what that does, it always stops the stalker. It makes them reset. You jab to the solar plex, it stops them. They have to reset, shuffle their feet, and then they go back forward again, okay? It's like that energy bunny, you know, like, and it hits the corner or hits the wall, it stops, and then it goes again. That's what Caleb Plant has to do. But he's got to mix it up. He's got to learn how to paint the wall, man. He's got to go from the solar plex to the head, the jab, solar plex, the head, and the jab. He can never I can't stress enough, he can never visit the ropes. He cannot put his back against those ropes. Every time he feels it, he's got to spin out of there and make the fight in the center of the ring. Okay, David, it's got to be David. I only see a few little things he's got to change. One, he does got to have a jab in this fight. Two, he's got to shuffle his feet a little quicker to close the distance and not allow Caleb Plant to dictate or to have control of the ring. Use all the ring that he can. He's got to make sure that real estate is small, right? He's got to cut that ring. He's got to. Now, I said Caleb Plant's got to look into the inner part of him of Andre Ward. Well, David Benavidez has got to find that inner part of him of Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., which is cut that ring off and make it smaller. Make it smaller. And then when he gets Caleb Plant to stand still for a few minutes, David's got to be Benavidez, which is let his hands go. That's what he's known for. Throwing these 4, 6, 8, 10 punch combinations. He's got to throw it all behind him, okay? He's got to bust him up, and he can't let he can't let Caleb Plant breathe. If the one thing that we saw with Caleb Plant against Canelo, he doesn't respond well when you pressure him. He doesn't do very well, okay? Going about the conditioning for legs, both men need to be conditioned with legs, because if David's such a big kid is going to try to walk him down, Caleb, if he's going to be on his bicycle, bro, he's got to have some muscles in those calves, because he's going to have to, do his best to keep a big Benavidez, and he had issues keeping a smaller 5'8" Canelo. You just imagine what the issue is going to have with the 6 foot plus fighter in David Benavidez. So that's my breakdown. I think that the answers that we're looking for is more with Benavidez. Can he catch the boxer? Is he going to put the around the mountain pressure? Does he make adjustments if Caleb Plant comes in with a great, with a good game plan with Breadman, his new coach? And does he make those adjustments on the fly? Can he do those things? Caleb Plant, for me, it's got to be Caleb Plant. I know they brought Breadman in, and now they're all jumping up and down because he knocked out Darrell. I don't put too much imps on that because it was Darrell. Wasn't, it was Darrell. What else can I say about that? It was a great knockout reel. It helps out the fight. It obviously helped out convince a lot of fans that he's a puncher somehow, some way. I don't think, though, they're going to be dumb enough to think that they could do what they did to Darrell to David Benavidez. I don't expect that, but if they do, it's going to be a short night. David Benavidez is just going to beat him up, But I don't see that, I just don't see that happening. I see what they try to do is what they did with Canelo, which is try to box him, drag the fight all the way out, and really try to put a lot of points in the basket. Keep those eggs in the basket. That's the plan that I see them doing. Maybe sitting on some of the punches here and there, but I don't see that happening until like the 10th, 11th, or 12th round. If they see David Benavidez slowing down, if they see that punching him in the midsection or making him chase down Caleb, they see him gassing out a bit. Then I see them sitting on the punches. But if they don't see any of that, I just see them boxing, moving. So that's my breakdown of that fight for Saturday night.
All right, man. Great stuff there. We got a lot of great comments in the chat as well. My man Andres says, jab and making Benavidez rack because Benavidez only knows to go forward. If Caleb don't do that, Benavidez will KO him. That said, I got Plant by decision. My man Gus is here as well. He says, if Caleb is well conditioned, he wins by unanimous decision. My man Afro Rican G here says, Canelo was a smaller, slicker target. Benavidez is a big target with not the best defense. I would agree with you on that, but I don't think it's that he's irresponsible defensively. I just think that when you deal with a guy that throws as many punches as Benavidez, you give your opponent more opportunities to counter you. And that's really, the nature of the business. You're opening up, and you're giving your opponent an opportunity to counter you. Now, depending on the right opponent, what we got here, Caleb Plant is a good counter puncher. So I could see him doing very well early in this fight. I think he is a little bit faster, I would say. I would say maybe just like more quicker, I would say. I think both guys have good speed, but I would give the edge slightly to Plant in that department. Defensively, now, I think Plant has his issues as well. I don't think his Philly shell, shoulder roll, whatever you want to call it, right, is as tight and as good as a shell needs to be to get his defense to the quote-unquote elite level, He gets touched an awful lot for a guy who fights in that kind of stance, and he doesn't throw enough punches for a guy like, again, if you're going to use the shell, we've seen many guys use it, right? Let's just talk recently. Bernard Hopkins, James Toney, Floyd Mayweather. These are some of the best guys to use it in the recent years. James Toney, probably the best offensive fighter out of the three, out of that stance. And again, if you're going to give up some defense, you're going to have to shoot some offense. That's a question mark with Plant. Is he going to be willing to let the hands go? Because he himself knows you throw more, the more opportunities you're going to give your opponent. And when you're in there with a guy who can put you in the blender like Benavidez, you're going to have to pick your spots. So I think that's what he's going to do early. Early on, we're going to see Plant very active with the lead hand. He's got a good jab, really, really good jab. And like you said, Dave, switch it up, right? Do feint, throw some to the body, throw some to the head. You made a great point about sticking that thing to the solar plexus because Benavidez is a guy that comes in with a high guard. And we know that there's holes in the high guard, mainly up the middle and around. So the jab can sneak in there and he can get it in there. The problem I have with Plant is that I feel he's one dimensional. I feel like he can only fight at outside range as to where
Right.
Benavidez can fight well inside and at medium range. Very, very well. And is not afraid to let the hands go. So as the fight goes on, if he cannot establish that jab and put some stank on it, it's going to be tough for him. Things are going to start to get really, really tough around round 6, 7, 8, because Benavidez has showed he doesn't fade in fights. He's shown that he actually gets good. He gets better as the fight goes on. He continues to throw punches and bunches as the fight goes on. Gonna be tough, man. Plant has shown that he can fade in fights. And like you mentioned with Canelo, who is a naturally smaller guy, right? Started in the lower weight classes, was able to get to him, was able to apply pressure, And the pressure is one thing, man. I always like to use other sports to explain what I mean. And when you're up against a really good team, especially in the NBA, what they'll do is they'll make you play faster than you want, make you play at their pace. And at this point in the fight, I believe that Benavidez is going to force Plant to fight at a pace. Once those mid rounds start to come on and we get into the late rounds, he's going to force him to fight at a faster pace that he's comfortable with at that time, because he does tend to fade. We saw that in the Uzcategui fight. We saw that in the Canelo fight. Didn't really see it much in the Durrell fight. But again, Durrell to me is just not, he's older at this point, It was a good knockout, like you said, but he's not the Durrell that we know and love from 5-6 years ago. He's just not. But I do think, like I said, I do think Plant will probably be up somewhere around 4 rounds to 2 or something like that going into the second half of the fight. And then that's when I think we're going to see Benavidez really start to pick up the pace. If Plant can't hurt him with something, he's going to have to either hurt him or make him respect the power at some point,
Right.
And if
Which could be the jab. Could be that jab is what
could be that
sets
jab,
that pace and that momentum. Which is, it's very difficult to be consistent with that for 8-10 rounds. And here's another thing is, you like you mentioned about the speed. Plant to me is has more speed when it's at arm length. David Benavidez has got pickup speed when it's inside boxing,
inside mid range. Yeah.
Yep. And that's something that Caleb's got to avoid, which he couldn't do with Canelo. And when I say shuffle the feet, if you watch the Canelo fight, Canelo shuffled his feet into closing the gap. And that's what David and them have got to kind of, understand is they're going to have to close that gap pretty quick. And then he's going to have to use combinations, because I forgot to mention, Plant's game plan should be if David closes that gap, if he feels he's under fire, he's going to have to hold him.
You got to start holding. Yes. Yeah.
He's going to have to hold him and then allow David to walk him back. So the ref separates them, and then he could take it back to the middle of the ring. It would, to me, would be a bad idea, and I've seen fighters do this, where they try to push the aggressor back when they grab on the hold, right? You're tiring out your legs. You want the aggressor to tire out their legs. So allow them to walk you back to those ropes, and then let the ref do their job.
Yeah, that's a good point too, man. And Plant, he's going to have to be in tremendous shape, because if he does plan to do that, like you said, hold and clinch up, that takes power. That takes energy too, because he's in there with a bigger man, So yeah, it's going to be tough in the later rounds, man. That's when I think this fight is going to get funky. All right.
Yeah.
Especially for Plant. But I do see him again, pot shotting well. He's going to be landing the eye-catching shots early. I do see that. Benavidez is going to be doing the dirty work, though, in those early rounds to set up the big shots and the combinations to land. Like, he might be throwing 3-4 punches at Plant early, might land one, might not land any in some of those. But again, as the fight goes on, those 3-4 punch combinations will start to land. You'll start to see 2-3 of them land. You might see all of them land as the fight goes on. And I just don't know if Plant is going to be able to handle that pressure. Canelo is a guy, again, who's really not known for being a pressure fighter. He's more of a boxer, puncher, counter punch type guy. But he was able to apply good pressure, slow Plant down, and get him out of there late. He doesn't have, again, the size or the volume of a David Benavidez. Going to be tough for Plant. So I'm going to take Benavidez, man. I think he's going to win this thing. I think he's going to stop him anywhere between 9, 10, 11, or 12. Anywhere in those last championship rounds, I think he's going to get him out of there, man. But I do think it's going to be a fun fight because, like I said, I think Benavidez is going to have some work to do going into that second half of the fight. I do think he's going to be down. He's going to have some work to do. He's going to have to pick up the pace, and I think he's comfortable doing that. Now, with Plant, I see some of you guys in the chat, and I'm going to read all you guys' comments here in a minute, but I see some of you guys saying, if Plant could push him back, he could get some things done. I agree. However, we have not seen Plant do that yet. So when I make my predictions, and Dave, you can answer this question any way you want, but when you make a prediction, we can only go off of what we've seen prior, right? And we have not seen that yet from Plant. If Plant can do that, if he can add a new wrinkle to the game, yes, that would be a game changer in a fight like this. Let's see how Benavidez reacts to being backed up and not being the guy coming forward. It's going to be a different thing for him. He's never experienced that in the ring. But it's a big if. We don't know. One thing I would like to see Benavidez do differently, instead of throwing more jabs, I feel like he should lead more with the right hand, especially if Plant's going to be in the Philly shell shoulder roll, because jabs, I mean, yeah, you can break distance with the jab, but I feel like a nice lead right hand can get you on the angle on that shoulder to where you can throw some short left hooks on the inside, either to the body or to the chin. Canelo was able to land good left hooks as the fight went on. That's a new wrinkle I would like to see Benavidez throw more lead right hands to get that good angle on that shoulder roll. We'll see if he's able to do that. A lot of questions for both guys still, but my gut is telling me to go with Benavidez in a very good, competitive, entertaining fight at the end of the day. Guys, the numbers are rolling down. We're going to be here for another 20 minutes or so, and then we're going to wrap it up. Give us a call if you would like to talk with us. Dave, anything you want to add to that, brother?
Yeah, really quick, because like I said, this is a real true grudge match. And let me ask you this, G-Funk and the people in the chat room who are going to call in. Who do you think has been the more calm collective between the two that hasn't been riled up, where it's not going to bring that raw emotion into their fight game and in the ring tomorrow night? I got to tell you, the one person that I've seen that has been triggered emotionally has been Caleb Plant. He's been all over the place on Twitter. He's arguing with fans, telling people to suck this and F that and all that. It seems like every little thing bothered this kid. That worries me about his mindset going in there. Is he thinking he's a killer? Is this a street fight, or is this going to be a boxing match? Is he going to put too much energy, which we know you want to be as calm as you can stepping in the ring. David Benavidez really didn't start being vocal about Caleb Plant. It was David's dad and David's older brother that were vocal. David finally came into play a little later. When Caleb Plant, what happened in the gym when they almost tried to punch Jose Jr. That's when he started being a little bit more vocal. And I think there's a little bit of him trying to get into the head of Caleb Plant. And I think they've done a fantastic job. I think Senior has done a fantastic job getting in the head of Caleb Plant. So I'm wondering who goes in with a more clear thought of their game plan on Saturday night.
Great point, man. Yeah. The mental games are a big part of competition, man. Big part of it. And if you can't keep your head in the game, you're pretty much out of it, man. I want to give a shout out to my man Gus with the $9.99 super chat. Always love your shows. Funky, hey, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the support. I appreciate all you guys for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button for me, guys. Let's go back up here. You guys have been dropping some great comments here, man, while we've been breaking this thing down. So let me get back up here read your comments. I could see Benavidez getting dropped in the mid-range at the end of the fight. Wow, that would be something to see. Yeah. Caleb also gets gassed in the later rounds, as we could see in his last fight. I keep putting things against Plant, but I got him winning though. Yeah,
Hey,
I hear
man,
you, man.
stick with that, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to go with your gut, man. That's
Yeah,
the way,
exactly.
and that's what makes a good matchup. That's what makes a good matchup when you can't just say, you know what, this guy's gonna win for this reason. You keep going back and forth on things. That's what makes a good fight. Plant needs to apply discipline. I think he can and will. Let's see. Guts here says Plant has no inside game. His shell is not good. His defense is based off his footwork and head movement, and he doesn't understand how to counter out of that shell. I would agree with you. I think a lot of his defense is the legs, retreating, moving away from shots. Takes a lot of energy to do that, man. And when you got a guy that's going to be applying pressure and throwing 3-4 punches at you at a time, could take a toll, man, if you're not in tip-top shape. My man Dilo says
he's always been able to really control his ring generalship with lesser opponents. And like I said, Canelo was actually able to show us that he wasn't ready for that big stage yet. He never made any adjustments, and Breadman, they're bringing them in, and let me tell you this. Breadman may have some great advice and stuff, but he's not going to change this guy and who he is over 2 fights, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If he does, and I said this on Twitter, never been a major big fan of Breadman, but if he can get this assignment accomplished, I got to give him his props.
Hats off to him. Yeah.
Yep.
Great point. Dilo says most of the fighters who use the shell these days, even in spots, get touched up while fighting. You're absolutely right, man. Look, I understand the influence that Mayweather and Hopkins and James Toney have had, but I mean, it's one of those styles that you just can't do overnight. It's something that you got to just really begin with and fight your whole career with, Let's see. Another thing I have against Plant, he tends to be close to the ropes in the mid rounds. No, and you don't want to be on those ropes. That's for sure. Plant needs to have a good clinch game for this fight. Up close, he's going to need that. Yeah, let's hope he doesn't clinch too much. You guys know I'm not a big fan of guys that like to hold and clinch. Let's see here. What if he pushes him back? I mean, that's a good question. Can he do it? I don't know, man. My man Psycho in the house. What's up, man? He says, what's going on to G-Funk at 97?
What's up, man? Brother?
Appreciate you, man. My man Alex from the 916 as well, my hometown. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. Let's see here. My man Javier as well from the area says Benavidez looks in tremendous shape, man. He looks good, man. He looks good. Looks focused. Let's see. Caleb is not a good aggressor. I don't think that would be good to try to pressure David. I would agree with you. I would agree with you. It'd be something to see to see somebody force him back and see how he fights off the back foot. I just don't know if Plant's the guy to do that.
He's got to keep turning him. He's got to keep turning Dave. He's got to keep turning him. Never allowed him to let his hands go. Look, I think there's a lot of things Caleb Plant can do, but can he apply certain things to make it happen? That's the part we're going to find out on Saturday night. Is it far-fetched to say that he could win? No. I think that's what makes this fight so goddamn interesting, you know what I mean? Because to me, they both got a lot riding on with each other because, again, David Benavidez Caleb Plant is the best fighter he's going to face to date and is on his resume. That's why we're excited because we want to see, does he really live up to the hype that we think he can be? We don't know yet.
Yeah, good point. Psycho here says, I don't like how David is looking, man. He looks like he's killing himself to make weight. I'm taking that into consideration. I got Plant with the upset because I have a feeling David might not be 100%.
Good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. And look, we know that he's a big kid, Plant needs to hit Benavidez needs to hit Plant everywhere, elbows, shoulders, and legs. I'm sure he's going to get a few hip shots in there on the inside if Plant starts to clinch and hold on the inside. Ukazeki is better at cutting off the ring than David. Honestly, I don't hold David that much higher than that version of Uzcategui. No, you know what, Gus? You got every right to think that because, again, David Benavidez doesn't have the strongest resume, doesn't have a lot of good fighters to test him yet. This is the best fighter he's going to be in the ring with tomorrow night, and we're going to find out what it's all about. Drummond for Life says, man, what's up with David looking smaller than Plant? Oh, Sweet Hands looking ripped at 168. Conditioning going to be going to David here. Strength to Plant. I got the monster for the W. Me too, man. What's going on to Shoe Shine? Make sure you guys subscribe to the Shoe Shine Boxing. Thanks for being here. Let's see here. We got let's see. Plant took a dive versus. Oh, come on.
They're still out there, bro. They still linger out there. The Glovegate fellas and shit.
Okay, Shushai says, yep, originally said earlier this week, Caleb will get stuck in by emotion and trade in the pocket. A big no-no.
Big no-no, right.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You want to stay to the game plan. Pot shot, pick your spots, work behind the jab, keep the distance. That's where Plant wants to be, man. And like you said, try to turn him as much as you can. You know, maybe not force him back, but if you could turn him and all that, that can make a difference too. Los Tres Chingones says, I think Plant outboxes him, but I believe Benavidez wins in a little bit of a controversial decision. It could be close. I agree with you on that because I feel like Benavidez is going to have to come from behind in this fight. I feel like he's going to be down early and he's going to have to make up some rounds. My man Alex here says, only way I see Plant winning is taking a chapter out of Andre Ward's book. Defensively hit and clinch fight. Constant moving. Try and win on points. Has to fight a perfect fight. Got Benavidez by stoppage. Yeah, we could see some clinching from Plant if things get a little rough for him later in the fight.
He's going to have to. He's going to have to slow down the output, the punching output from David Benavidez. He's going to have to do something like that. But again, that's not his style.
Yeah, we haven't seen that.
We haven't seen that. And does he think like that? Does he think, automatically, because that's something that has to be embedded in you. You have to work on it. Was that something that Breadman decided to bring to the table? I'm not sure because everybody that I've seen that Breadman, fighters that have been stopped, never grabbed and hold to stop momentum.
Yep.
So I'm not sure.
Yeah, we have to, go off of what we've seen in the past, right? Could he do these things? I mean, theoretically, yes. But again, when making a prediction, you have to go off of the past, what they've done in their fights, how they fight. They consistently fight one way or another, or do they mix things up? And what we've seen from Plant, we have not seen him do those sort of things. So these are stuff that we're going to have to, he's going to have to come outside of himself. And I do feel like Plant is just one-dimensional, in my opinion. Round one says, I think David stops Plant, but Plant does have a chance of winning on the cards. Absolutely. Absolutely he does. See, Alex, 100, all 12 consistent game plans for Plant to win. Okay, let's entertain this for a second. Boxers never take dives. Well, look, here's the thing. If you think a boxer took a dive, you're going to have to provide some proof. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. If you want to have a theory, that's fine and all. But bring some proof.
Taken dives. I mean, let's get that out of the way. Yeah, we've seen that happen. Okay,
right.
We've seen fixed fights. We're not going to play dumb, but what a fight of this magnitude at this moment with this amount of emotions, you really think that one guy is going to take a dive for the other to excel when they're both? You got Plant writing on the fact that if he could beat David Benavidez, he's got a strong case of getting the Canelo rematch. It makes it a big fight because he was able to take the monster that everybody's been calling David Benavidez out of the equation.
Yep.
And Canelo fans can go, whew, that was close. Thank you, Plant. Right? So that there is weighing on Plant. But then you got David Benavidez is like, hey, everybody's asking questions, okay? I'm being labeled as the new, it guy. I got to deliver. Why would he take a dive at this moment, at this time of his career? Makes no sense for either one of the guys. So, no.
And they want to beat each other. They really want to beat each other. And
yeah.
You could tell. There's bad blood, guys. There's real bad blood between these guys. Chauncey Pearl says, all I will say is you can't be called a Mexican monster if you ain't fighting monsters. I favor Benavidez, but I wouldn't be surprised if Plant outpoints him. No, that's a great point. And I think Mike Tyson's the one that actually came up with that when he told Jermall Charlo that he should fight Benavidez, and then he called him the Mexican monster, the Mexican monster.
he always sounds like he's about to, like he's holding his fart. He's always saying that. He's always when he talks and shit. But here, look, let me point this out about the Mexican monster. You know, you can't be called a monster if you haven't fought monsters. Well, point out who's a monster at 168. Nobody.
Right.
There's really nobody there.
The only way we could really call a monster is a guy's got all the belts, you know, like
yeah. No, I mean the only way you call a guy a monster is a big guy that comes forward and throws a lot of punches. I mean, who could that be? Oh, David Benavidez.
Yeah. Gus says, man, if Benavidez had Abel Sanchez instead of his dad, he would be a real killer. I mean, Sanchez is an old school trainer, man, from back in the day. Alex says potential fight of the year. Could be. It could be, man.
I disagree with that. I'll tell you why. Is because at this point right now, have we seen any signs that he should drop his dad? I mean, got him to this point, you know. No. I think we have to judge them by their wins, not right now with there's no losses. So right now, I think that they're doing just fine. You know, doing just fine. Yeah. And you got to remember, not all trainers mesh well with the style of that particular fighter. And David Benavidez doesn't fight like a Triple G.
Yeah. And if Plant does pull off the win, then we still have to see how Team Benavidez and Jose Sr. bounce back from that. I think that that's a big part, and that's something that a lot of fans kind of have knee-jerk reactions or jump the gun a little bit. A fighter takes a loss, like, oh, he's got to fire the whole team. Like, no, let's see how they rebuild. Let's see how they recover from it. You know, that's when now I know. Okay, everything's good when you're winning, right? You take a loss. Okay, let's come back, fix some things. That's how we see how good a trainer is and how good a fighter is coming off of a loss. Javier says it's going to depend on what ref we get. I believe Kenny Bayless is the referee for this fight, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I think I read that somewhere, but I'm not 100% sure. Andre says, LOL. Besides the Canelo fight, the resume is super similar. I would agree. And now David's getting his chance. This is the Benavidez coming out party. Indeed, if he wins, it will definitely be the coming out party. He will stamp that Mexican monster title that he's getting. All right. If he wins this fight impressively.
I got shook a little bit right now. I thought Mike was in the room with us. I was like, is that you, Mike?
Shout out to Iron Mike, guys. All right. Andre says, do you guys think Stephen Breadman Edwards is the right trainer for Plant? Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I think the jury's still out. That's the way I'll answer that. You go ahead and answer that, Dave.
I think it is a good mix. Breadman likes boxers. I think Breadman needed somebody that he can, because, look, the most difficult thing for a trainer is translation to become real, okay? And what I mean by that is, like, when I give you an instruction, can you follow through with it to the T? And I think Plant can do that. I just don't know how well he's going to do it against a pressure fighter, a big pressure fighter like David Benavidez. So I honestly believe that Breadman's going to have a good plan. It's just up to Plant to take it and execute it. That's going to be, to me, that's going to be the tell of the story.
Good point. Very good point, man. Execution is what it's all about. Yes, we can work on a lot of things in the gym and et cetera, but if you don't get the job done during the fight, it's all for nothing, man. Great point.
Right.
Let's read a few more comments here, and then we're going to wrap it up, guys. It's getting late. We're some veteranos, man. We're old guys, all right? So we got to get our sleep, all right?
Hell yeah.
My man Chauncey has a good question here. He says, if Plant wins, would this be an upset? Or would are we undervaluing Plant? I wouldn't say it's an upset, because I think this is damn near a 50-50 fight, in my opinion. So I would not be surprised if I'm wrong in this prediction and Plant wins. I would not be surprised at all, and I wouldn't call it an upset. I mean, as far as the odds go, they have David Benavidez a little bit high, but I think that's because there's some last minute money coming in on
Right.
Benavidez, which is pushing that lineup. But how would you answer that question, Dave?
Man, I think you answered it beautiful, to tell you the truth. There's nothing I can add to that. It was a great answer to that question.
Yeah. How do you feel about David's new physique with Memo? Well, we asked the PR about that earlier. Hey, they're doing VADA testing. I mean, what else can we say at that point?
Right.
You know,
What else can we ask for? I mean, that's something. If you followed me for years, you knew that we covered VADA and PEDs very well, too well that it scared the shit out of a lot of people. They didn't want to talk to us. Okay.
Mhm.
And I saw my old counterpartner, Montoya, asked a great question, because David Benavidez' team said we brought Memo Heredia for more strength and power. Did he look like he needed more strength and power from the past? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, the physique. But like you mentioned, he came in at that same exact weight in his last fight against Lemieux. So we're going to find out. We're really going to find out. You know, it's always after the fight. VADA's going to get the testing. We'll find out after. And when it does, we'll address it. That's all we can say. That's all I can say about that at the moment. Do I like Memo Heredia? Shit, there's a lot of people in boxing that should be banned. Banned for life. And he's one of them. But this is boxing. We're the only sport when nobody comes through the front door. They all come from the back.
Yeah. Andre's asking, what's our official pick? I'm taking Benavidez. Dave, let him know who you got.
I got David Benavidez, the monster. I can't do it as good as you. By late KO. I got him by 10. I think inside 10 rounds he stops Caleb Plant. And a brilliant, great fight. And behind on the cards, must I add.
Yeah, I think so too. We got another Plant pick here in the chat. There's some people picking Plant. It's one of those fights, man. Like you said, Gus, 50-50. Agree very well, man. I agree very much what you say. We got Conte versus Memo. Right. Very good there, man. And Emily,
well, hey, listen,
a pleasure. Thank you for calling in
Memo
earlier.
won the first round. You got to say, Memo won the first round. He got Conte locked up.
So not only do we got a grudge match there, but we got in the ring, we've got a grudge match there as well. So, all right, guys, we're gonna wrap this one up. We usually like to keep these shows around 1 hour, and like I said, we're a couple of old guys. We got to get our sleep. It's a big day tomorrow. Ton of fights on. Okay, we only talked about 2 of the cards. I believe there's 3 other cards on tomorrow. So us boxing junkies, we're gonna get our fix tomorrow, and then we cap it off with the Mexican Monster. All right. But my man Dave, I want you to give your last thoughts on anything you want and let everybody know where they can find you and all that good stuff, brother.
Man, last thoughts on this. I just hope it's going to be every worth of us waiting for this time to finally happen. And I think it is. You know, I always hear people saying boxing's dead and this is what hurts the sport and this is why reason boxing's falling, and like nobody bothers to look at the schedule and see we have a lot of great fights lined up, and David Benavidez and Plant just really set that bar for this whole year. I'm just going to see, my whole prediction, like I said, is basically it's just going to be a lot of pain between these two, and they're finally going to be able to iron it out. And I hope win, lose, or draw between the two men, that they can finally shake hands after the fight and put everything else, the bullshit, to rest, because this is a sport. They're prize fighters.
Yeah.
They're not thugs on the street.
Yep. That's the beautiful thing about competition, guys. Yeah, we get in each other's heads and the trash talk during the competition, but usually once it's over and there's a clear winner, we usually get, like you said, that sportsmanship, the handshake. Let's put all that shit behind us. We settled it already. Yeah, that would be great to see. The GOAT here says he's been waiting. I know, man. I know I had to take a break for a little bit, but look, you can always, just play it back, brother. Play it back, okay? Andres says, great show. Shoeshine here is saying that David's shoes are fire. Yeah, I seen that, man. Alex says, great show. Thank you. Shoeshine says, nice show and nice to see Dave back. Yeah, I know, man. I got to bring this brother back more often, See, kudos to Benavidez and Plant, 2 former champs, taking this fight absolutely. And my man Major Key shows up late, but it's all good, brother. That's my boy Major Key right there. Make sure you guys subscribe to him as well. So that's it for this one, guys. We're both taking David Benavidez by late stoppage, and should be a good fight, man. Should be a fantastic fight. I'm going to try to go live once it's over, so make sure you guys hit that notification bell so you know when I go live. Phone lines will be open as well. Call in, let us know what you think of the fight. But that's it, guys. We're going to wrap it up. We will see you guys after the fights, and enjoy the fights tomorrow, you boxing junkies. All right, we'll see you guys then. We're out.